Hi, welcome to the Radon information session for the 100 Test Kit Challenge. This is a recorded session for all the communities that are running across Canada this year. So feel free to listen in and find out some basic information about radon and some resources to help you with the Radon Test Kit that you've received from our program. We're going to walk through what is radon and the impact it has on your health. We're also going to give you a little bit of information about how to fix it. So radon mitigation information, and then also the basic information about what the 100 Test Kit Challenge is and how the program works. We'd like to start off to say that Take Action on Radon is proud to unite members from across Canada, which encompasses the traditional territory of many First Nation, Métis people, and Inuit whose ancestral footsteps and rights extend beyond the colonial boundaries that exist today. We respectfully honor these people's rights, history, and relationship with this land. And I'm going to introduce to you now Kelly Bush with Health Canada, and she's going to get us started with what is radon.
Thanks, Pam, and hello, everyone. And I'd like to start by saying thank you for participating in the 100 Test Kit Challenge. So we're going to start with the basics. What is radon? It is a radioactive gas that is produced by the breakdown of uranium in soil and rock in the ground. When radon gas is released from the ground into the outdoor air, it's diluted and is not a concern. However, in enclosed spaces, like your homes, it can accumulate to high levels and become a risk to the health of you and your family. You cannot see or smell radon gas. All homes have some level of radon in them. Every home and building in contact with the ground will have some level of radon. The question is how much, and the only way to know that is to test. If the radon level is in your home is high, it can be fixed. This is such an important message because too many people don't want to know about radon, don't want to test because they figure it's too expensive, it's too hard to fix it, and that's absolutely not the case. And the Canadian guideline for radon in indoor air is 200 becquerels per cubic meter. So there are four major sources of public exposure to natural radiation: cosmic radiation, terrestrial, inhalation, and ingestion. In addition to that, there are four categories of artificial or man-made sources of radiation: atmospheric testing, medical sources like X-rays and CTs, industrial sources like density gauges and those glow-in-the-dark exit signs that we see in buildings, and then nuclear fuel cycle or power plants. Lots of people worry about different types of radiation, but often not radon. And of all of these sources that I just named, both natural and man-made, it's estimated that radon represents almost 50% of a person's lifetime radiation exposure, which is why Health Canada is promoting radon awareness and why the 100 Test Kit Challenge program exists. So the Canadian guideline for radon, as I said earlier, is 200 becquerels per cubic meter. In 2006, Health Canada collaborated with our federal, provincial, territorial radiation protection committee to review the health risk from exposure to radon. The risk assessment was based on scientific information and was subject to a broad public consultation. And in 2007, we made the decision to lower the Canadian guideline for radon to 200 becquerels per cubic meter from 800, so a pretty significant decrease. In addition to residential homes, the guideline applies to workplaces, public buildings, such as schools, hospitals, and long-term care residences. And what you see on the slide now is a radon risk map of Canada. This map was developed using the radon data from Health Canada's cross-Canada residential surveys that we've completed over the last 10 years. We estimate that approximately 7% of homes in Canada have high radon, but that can be deceiving because sometimes people automatically think, okay, I have a 93% chance of not having a problem. First of all, 7% is actually quite significant, but more importantly, the percentage of high radon across the country really varies quite significantly, with some areas estimated to have as much as 50% of homes with high radon. So the message is, whether you live in an area that is deemed high or low risk, or you know your neighbor tested and they found a low or high level of radon, you cannot use that information to predict or know what the radon level is going to be in your own home. The only way to know that is to do a test, which most of you are doing as you're participating in this program. The other thing I just wanted to mention, it's okay that you changed the slide, but just that the coloring of the map is pink to red. And the message there is there's no radon free or risk-free areas of Canada. That again supports our message that all homes need to be tested. So what you see on this slide here talks about where radon can be found. I said it earlier, all homes and buildings in contact with the ground have some level of radon in them. Always the question is how much. One of our senior researchers at Health Canada recently released a publication entitled Risk Assessment for Radon Exposure in Various Indoor Environments. Dr. Jing Chen looked at radon survey data from workplaces, schools, and in homes, and found that on average, radon concentrations in homes are about 3 times higher than in schools, and almost 5 times higher than in public buildings and indoor workplaces. In addition to that, Canadian statistics show that most Canadians spend about 70% of their time indoors at home, about 20% of the time indoors away from home, and then 10% outside. So due to the relatively higher radon concentration in homes and the longer time spent at home, we estimate that home exposure to radon is about 90% of the radon-induced lung cancer risk for Canadians. So how does radon get into our homes and buildings? There are several factors that can influence the amount of radon that moves from the ground into the home. So one is the amount of uranium in the ground surrounding your home, the construction type, the foundation condition, and then the occupant lifestyle as well. So what that means is how many doors and windows you have open. And finally, the weather. So temperature, winds, and rainfall can all also influence the amount of radon, again, that moves from the ground into the home. And because it's a gas, radon can move quite easily into our homes through any small opening it can find, such as cracks and gaps in the home's foundation and floor wall joint. And you can see in the image on this slide all the different ways that radon can move from the ground into our homes. The health risk from radon is long-term and depends on 3 things. 1, how high the radon level is. 2, how long you're exposed for, and 3, whether or not you're a smoker. Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer and the #1 cause of lung cancer in non-smokers. Health Canada estimates that more than 3,000 people a year die of radon-induced lung cancer. So, but the real message here is, yes, it's a significant risk, but it's preventable. But you have to take that action. You have to test, and if the levels are high, you need to reduce. So despite everything I've just shared with you with regards to the evidence and the reality of the risk from radon, radon is a really challenging risk communication issue, one that many people don't know about or worry about. There's a number of reasons for that. First, people who don't smoke don't tend to worry about lung cancer. On top of that, it's invisible to our senses. You can't see it or smell it. And it's naturally occurring. So there's no bad guy who created it to make you mad or worried. And because the health risk is long-term and not immediate, like for example, carbon monoxide, many people just don't believe that radon is a risk that they have to worry about. So in an effort to better communicate the risk from radon and get people to pay attention and do something about it, we compare it to other risks that people do worry about and take action on. So the chart on the right-hand side of the slide compares the risk of dying of radon-induced lung cancer to other better known risks, such as car accidents, carbon monoxide, and house fires. And as you can see, the risk from radon is significant. So the message is, if you change the batteries in your smoke detector, if you wear a seatbelt, if you have a carbon monoxide detector in your home, then you should also be testing the radon level in your home. So the only way to know if you have high radon, I've said this a couple times already, is you need to do the test. So how do you do this test? Well, in this case with the program, the test kits are being provided to you. But if someone was to call us at Health Canada and ask that question, we would say you have 2 options. You can purchase a do-it-yourself test kit, or you can hire a certified measurement professional. Whatever option you choose, you need to do a long-term test for a minimum of 3 months, ideally during the fall or winter time when your windows and doors are mostly closed. And to find a certified radon test kit or a measurement professional, you simply go to takeactiononradon.ca, and then you can click on purchase a test kit, or you can do a search by your postal code or in your province to find different resources that are available. So why do we recommend a minimum testing period of 3 months? And ideally, we actually say 12 months. Long-term testing is important because radon levels can vary quite significantly over time. You can see an image of that on the slide. Our radon guideline is an annual average exposure level. So to be able to estimate the annual average exposure in your home, you need to test for a minimum of 3 months. This will allow you to compare the test result that you get to our guideline level to make a decision as to whether or not you need to take further action to reduce the radon level in your home. There are short-term tests available on the market, but we don't recommend them. And for the reason that you can see in the image on the slide, you have a higher risk of a false positive or a false negative if you do a short-term test just for a couple of days. So if you've tested your home and the radon level is above the Canadian guideline of 200, Health Canada recommends that you take action to lower the level. Ideally, what we recommend is the higher the level, the sooner you take action. But as you can see from the image on the slide, we do provide some guidance as far as timeframes. So if your level is between 200 and 600, we say you should take action within a year. And if it's within 2 years, and if it's above 600, within a year. But it's important to also understand while the health risk from radon exposure below the Canadian guideline is small, there is no level that's considered risk-free. So ultimately, it's a choice of each homeowner to decide what level of radon exposure they're willing to accept. And come back to what I said at the beginning of my presentation about it's important to understand that radon can be reduced. And I know Pam's going to talk about this as well, but techniques to lower radon levels are effective and can save lives. Radon levels in most homes can be reduced by 80 to 90% and can typically be installed in less than a day. What Health Canada recommends is that you hire a mitigation professional that's been certified under the Canadian National Radon Proficiency Program. You can see their logo on the slide there. They can help you find the best and most cost-effective way to reduce the radon level in your home. The standard and most effective radon reduction method is called active soil depressurization, and Pam's going to talk in more detail about how that type of system works. So I will pass it over to you now, Pam.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Kelly. So as Kelly has talked about, the 100 Test Kit Challenge will provide you with a free radon detector to our participants. And depending on which program you participate, the detector might look different because we work with different manufacturers to supply the test kits. But here's a sample of some of the alpha track detectors that we use in the program. And we also want you to know that we do quality assurance, and Erin will talk a little bit about how we do that as part of our program. But it helps us ensure that the detectors we use are quality detectors and have good quality assurance so that when you receive your test report, you can have confidence in the report that you receive and know that it is reflective of the radon level that was in your home during the time that you did your testing. And so Kelly's talked about this. There is guidance once you receive your test report on what you should do, what actions you should take. And if your radon level is above the guideline, you should consider taking action to reduce it. And so we like to share this information even at day one, kind of before you even started testing, just so that you can start to think about it and start to understand the actions that you might need to take once you get your report. But we're also here for more information. So once you do get your report, you can always reach out to us to get more information. And so the key pieces of information is to understand that it can be lowered. There is a guidance level at the 200 becquerels per meter cubed. Radon mitigation system is the most effective way to reduce your radon level in your home. And so I'll talk a little bit about what that is so that you can understand what a professional is going to do when they come in and install this into your home. But a radon mitigation system is a simple system with a pipe and a fan. It's installed in new and existing homes. So you may not have anything in place before you do your test, and that's okay. A professional can come in and install it just by simply drilling a hole in your basement or in your floor. So just a little bit larger than the size of the pipe that they need, so they can fit it in and install it through the slab of the home. The pipe will go through into your subslab space below your floor here, so that it can provide a pathway for the soil gas, the radon, to go from beneath your home up and out to the exterior. And so you can see how the piping provides a pathway that's completely closed, so it doesn't allow the air to come into your home. Instead, it provides that so it gets discharged right outside. And then a fan is added to ensure that this air is being drawn up through this system. And so it needs to be installed properly. And a couple of key things when it is installed is to make sure that the slab is well sealed. So a professional will go in and check for openings and make sure it's a good sealed foundation. And then also the fan should be properly sized. So they should do some calculations so that they know what size of fan to use for your house to make sure that this is working effectively at the worst case scenario for your house. And then there also is guidance about the discharge pipe for clearances. We do have research that shows that this radon discharges or dissipates really efficiently in the outside air. But we still have some clearances just to make sure that it isn't close to windows or won't re-enter into the home. So here's a couple pictures of what it looks like in reality in some homes. And so it's a really simple system, often installed in the maintenance space or kind of an out of the way space in your basement. Another thing to know about is that there are building codes in place in Canada. So new homes may have measures that include some radon control measures. The National Building Code includes measures such as gravel under the slab and a well-sealed liner. Any sump pit or any other openings should be properly sealed. And then there is a rough-in that is installed. And so if your home has this rough-in, it's not installed to fix the radon, but it is there in case. So as a rough-in, it's just capped and sealed for you to test and see if you need to finish the system by extending the pipe to the exterior of the home. And so it's just helpful to know that this may be in your home, but it isn't currently fixing the radon, but it is there in case you test and have high levels. Another thing that we want you to know about is there is some funding supports available across Canada. And so depending on what region you're available, there's different places that you can look. And we are working to try and increase access or availability to these grants across Canada. So you can always reach out to us at the time when you test and see if there's any more available. But in Quebec, there are a few environmental programs available at the municipal level. And so there are some communities that have those available. So you can check with your municipality and see if they've included radon mitigation grants in their environmental grant programs. In Ontario, there's a home warranty program. So if your home is within the first 7 years of home construction, you can reach out to Terrian Warranty and have your cost of mitigation covered under the home warranty program. In Manitoba, there's two options. There is the option through Manitoba Hydro where you can finance your radon mitigation system through your hydro utility bill, so you can pay it off monthly. And then the Lungs Matter program through the Manitoba Lung Association also provides a grant for people in Manitoba, and it currently provides consideration for people in low-income households or low to moderate income households and individuals with lung cancer. In addition, Saskatchewan has a time-limited renovation tax credit. So that may also be available it's available in the current year. It won't be available next year. And then it also have a Caring Breasts financial assistance program. So you can apply for reimbursement to the lung SASC program as well. In Alberta, there's some regional supports available. So you can look for the SHARP program or the Seniors Home Adaptation and Repair program in your area and ask if they would provide some support for radon mitigation as well. And then if you do mitigate your home, there is a sweepstakes that is available. So you can apply online through the Take Action on Radon website. It's not a grant, but you can apply for a chance to win a sweepstakes from across Canada. All right, so that's some background information. I'm going to hand it off to Erin now, and she's going to go into details about the program and how you can, how our program works.
Thanks very much, Pam. So this is our 5th year already of running the 100 Radon Test Kit Challenge, and we have had the pleasure of running it in communities coast to coast across Canada, from a couple of hundred households to a couple of million households. And this year we're working with 20 communities, so welcome to all of you. So as a quick oversight, as we get into how you're actually going to participate in the program, here are the basic 5 steps. You'll be picking up your detector from somewhere in your community. You'll be placing it in your home, following the instructions that come with it in the envelope. We'll ask you to log on online to give us a little bit of basic information that we absolutely need if you're going to get your report. So it's a non-negotiable. Without the dates and without your email address, I cannot magically get you your report. And then there's nothing for you to do. It stays in place for that 3-month testing period that Kelly mentioned. That's so important for a long-term measurement. And as part of our program, we rounded that up to give a little bit of a margin of error. So we talk about 100 days. So 100 days later, we start to send you emails reminding you that it's time to log back on and wrap up your radon test. So you'll be returning your radon detector back to a drop-off place in your community. And then you'll be receiving your radon report in the coming weeks and months. So when there are test kits available, we encourage you to have your friends and family participate in our program. Sometimes our program in a community is absolutely full, but we encourage you to talk about radon and spread the awareness, and encourage your friends and family to maybe purchase a radon test kit online. So here is what your envelope will look like. So the radon test kits come in a little paper envelope. On the outside of the envelope is a checklist, and on the inside is your radon detector and a sheet of instructions. So that checklist on the outside, you can keep this envelope until you receive your report via email. That's a really good plan, because having your radon detector number, the little serial number, which is written on the envelope, that will be a foolproof way of getting your report if ever we don't receive your information through our online system somehow. So picking up your radon detector is step 1. Next slide, please. So then placing your radon detector. So I encourage you to go home and place it right away before you forget. I know if it were me, that's what I would do. I'd put it on the kitchen counter and I'd completely forget. So go home, do it right away. Inside, there's a little instruction sheet. We have sort of what we call like the quick start guide. It's sort of, I think, 6 or 8 images of sort of the step-by-step how to get your test kit going and registered. And we also have placement instructions in there and a little more detail. It's easy to get lost in the details. Basically, what you want to do when you're testing your home is you want to choose a room in the lowest level of your home that you use. So if you have a finished basement where you watch television every night, or there's a playroom, or there's a bedroom, or there's an office, that's a perfect place to test in your basement. If, however, you either don't have a basement, or you just go down there, there's the laundry room, or there's just storage, but you never spend any amount of time down there, then we would recommend testing on the next level up in your home, on the ground floor. Our guideline is 4 hours per day. You want to spend, roughly 4 hours per day there, because you are the one, you and your family, it's your lungs that are at risk of lung cancer. So you want to test the air that you're breathing. Radon, since it does come from the soil, tends to be higher in the lower levels of the home, but the air in our homes does circulate. Sometimes, depending on the systems in our home, it circulates quite a bit. So you want to choose a location in that room, whether it's the basement or the ground floor level of your home. And you want to place the radon detector in what we sort of call the breathing zone. So we have guidelines for the distances from the floor and the ceiling and from other objects, but basically placing it like shown in these images, beside a couch, beside your bed, beside the desk where you work, those are all great places. Places to avoid would be the kitchen or the bathroom. Both of those locations, because they have additional ventilation that's often used, so a bathroom fan or a kitchen fan. Also avoid placing the detector right on a windowsill where there might be a little leak of fresh air that comes in over the course of the time that you're testing. Don't put it right next to a door that's frequently opened for the same reason. If fresh air is coming in that little location, then you're not really measuring the, sort of the air inside the home where you're spending your time. So there are some examples of placement locations. So once you've placed the radon detector, we do ask that you log on online to radontestkitchallenge.ca. That's a website that is indicated on the instructions and I think linked by QR code to make it easy if you have a smartphone with a QR reader. So there's what we call our start survey and our end survey, basically starting your test and ending your test. So we'll ask that you click in when you've just placed your radon detector to the start survey, and there we'll ask them basic information. And like I mentioned before, there's a couple of these fields that are absolutely required. That would be your contact information so that we can get the report to you, and the date that your radon test was started. The way that these radon detectors work, in order to have them give you a radon level at the end at the laboratory, we absolutely need the day you started and the day you ended, because it's a function of how long that detector was in your home that the lab will then give you a radon level. So in addition to those required fields, there are also optional fields, and this just helps us with our research. So we ask questions about your home, what type of heating you have, what type of home it is, some other features of your home. Those are optional. If you want to answer them, thank you very much. It will help us to learn more about radon and how we can better protect everyone's health. So Pam mentioned the quality assurance that we do as part of this testing program. So one of those is the duplicate tests. So in certain envelopes, about 10% of the envelopes, you'll find 2 detectors rather than 1. It's not a bonus detector to test a separate dwelling or to test 2 locations in your home. What we really ask is that you place these 2 detectors, just treat them as a pair, place them side by side, please. So once you've chosen the location where you're going to test in your home, you just put the 2 of them on the night table, you put the 2 of them on the side table or the shelf or wherever. Because what we'll do when these 2 detectors get to the laboratory is we'll read both of them, and then we'll make sure they're telling the same story. And if one of them says something very different from the other one, then we know that there's something going on. So this is a way that we make sure that these detectors are very reliable and that they're giving you high quality results. And our surveys online, you don't need to complete them twice. There's a space for you to put both serial numbers, so it doesn't take any extra time. Next slide, please. So that's it. Once you've picked up your detector, chosen where you're going to place it, put it in place, and done the online survey, then you're good to go. Fast forward to the spring. As long as you have done that online survey, I'll have your email address, and we will start reminding you. We'll send out little reminder email starting about a week before the collection period. So one of the great things about doing testing your home through this program is that you do get these prompts, so that, like I said, you don't just forget the detector on the kitchen counter for the winter. And also by participating in this program, there's no cost of shipping. So if you return your radon detector during generally there's a 1-week period that's advertised on your envelope at a local location. So right, the community center, the library, the town hall, that's where you're going to take your radon detector back and you're going to drop it off. Then you don't have to pay for shipping. So we once again ask that you log in, enter the date that you ended your radon test, and then return the kit itself to that central location. Now, if you're on vacation, if you missed it, if something happened and you started your radon detector late and therefore you haven't had it in place for the 91 days, and so you want to leave it in place for full 91 days, no problem. You can absolutely miss the community collection period and return the detector yourself through the mail to our office. We provide you with that address on the instruction sheet. It's a Winnipeg address. And you will still get a radon test. So your home, you can still test your home. Your data may or may not, depending how late you are, be included in sort of the community summary report. But you can still test your home. The only thing is you'll have to pay for the shipping to return your detector to our office. So as long as you're aware of that and ready to do that, there's no problem. So a few weeks, I always hope it's a few weeks. It's often 4 to 6 weeks after you return your radon detector to the community collection point. You should receive your individual radon report via email. Bear in mind that we're collecting thousands of radon test kits from 20 communities across the coast, across the country. We're getting all that data crunched and we're getting it to the lab, and then they're processing all those detectors. So normally I ask people to give us a month and a half before you start emailing or calling me and asking where your report is. We also really publicize it. So we'll ask your community to advertise in their newsletter, on their Facebook page, that the radon reports are out. So if you're seeing that type of advertisement and you haven't seen your report, then by all means, please do get in touch with us. Our emails often end up in spam. That's just the way it is these days. But please do push to get your data. We want you to know what your radon level is so that you can protect your health. So you'll be getting that individual radon report via email a few weeks after you return your radon detector. And we'll provide you with links and information so that when you see your number, you can compare it to Health Canada's guidelines, and we'll refresh your memory as to what Health Canada suggests you do based on that radon result. Then in addition to that, because we're running this as a community program, we also prepare what we call the community report. Now, we protect your individual results. That won't be shared, tied to your address in any way, but what we do is we summarize the results, as you see on the screen here, for example, for Vernon, BC, who participated a few years ago. So we summarize the overall number of homes that participated and the overall percentage of homes that tested above the Canadian guideline level. So all the homes you see there in red, which was 37% of the 181 homes that participated in Vernon, tested above the 200 becquerel per cubic meter guideline level that Health Canada mentions. So we also in that report touch on, again, what radon is, why it's a health concern, and sort of why we ran the testing program in your community. So those will all be, all those community reports from all past programs are available on our website, takeactiononradon.ca, and your community report will be added to that once it's ready next summer. So that concludes the bulk of our presentation. I do encourage you, if you have any questions, especially about the technicalities of the program, placing your detector, where's your data, where's your report, to get in touch with me, Erin Curry. You've got our email information up there. You've also got phone numbers that you can reach us at. And we are here to answer your questions. Sometimes people feel apologetic calling us with questions, but that's absolutely what we're here for. And it is our pleasure if we can clear something up for you on the topic of radon. So thanks for participating in this program, and I'll pass it back to Pam.
Yeah, thanks so much, Erin. And so we've provided the general information. If you're looking for specific information about where you can pick up a test kit in your community, you can go to our website at takeactiononradon.com and check out the 100 Radon Test Kit Challenge webpage. And we do have a list of our ongoing communities for this year and their status. So if there are more test kits available, where you would pick up the test kit. And then if you already have picked up your test kit and you want the location and the dates to drop off the test kit, that also will be available on our website, but it should be on your envelope. So if you keep that envelope in a place where you'll remember it in a few months, you can also check that for reference. But we also will have the information on our website, and you can certainly also contact us if you have any questions. All right, we thank so much for you for joining us and taking time to watch this. Kelly Bush, thanks so much for taking time to talk with us about radon and why Health Canada has put this information together and are asking Canadians to make it a priority. So thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, and thanks so much, Erin. All right, goodbye, everybody.